How's it, guys, and welcome back to Rex to Rides, where we are still turning your hard-earned cash into unfinished projects and broken dreams. So today we are looking at lettering in a pearl, in a candy coat. You know, there's obviously you talk to a lot of people and they're all going to give you a different story. So we still stick around with the old fuck around and find out method. Not an experienced spray painter. I'm an amateur and DIYer at that. So what I'm saying is don't go what I say on what I say. Rather just for yourself, just experiment a bit. But I can sort of give you the results of my experiment. Now, the whole purpose of this exercise, as you can see, it's quite an expensive exercise, is to get some paint on the old Suzuki over here. Now, this bike I bought as a wreck. It's a wreck to rides. It was actually an accident. It's had a lot of I'm just going to give this lens a bit of a wipe. I don't know if that's why it's not focusing, but anyway, it had a front end, and it had a leak on the counter shaft, and so we fixed it up, and because we got it for obviously a bit of a steal. And I got to tell you, this is a superb bike. It's a 650 DL. It's still the V motor. It's a 2012, I think, and it's mental. It's got a Cowley free flow, and this thing is really quite an amazing bike. So it's high mileage and that, and it's really proved itself to me. So I really want to treat it to a bit of a spray job, and there's two approaches to this. Obviously they did a real hack of a job on this. They didn't even cut and buff. They just sprayed, and it was full of pinholes and fish eyes and shit. That I sort of cleaned up the plastics of it, and but you see, for me as a DIYer, and I've invested quite a bit into equipment and that, and I'd like to do custom bikes and guitars and small things like that. I don't have the space, nor the spray booth, nor the expertise, nor the money to buy the equipment to do cars. I don't want to do a whole car. It's not a high return job. Guys don't have money for a whole car being sprayed. I don't want to do collision repairs. I want to do something creative, and I want to do what I want to do, and I want to have fun. So this is what this exercise is all about. For me, I don't want to be doing this as a job, but I want to do something very out there on this bike. So when guys look at it, they're going to go, wow, that is really, really quite something. Who did it? No, I did it. All right, well, there you go. Quick in and out, and you can get creative. You can do all sorts. So that's what this is about. Everyone keeps asking me, what bike is it? Because there's no logos or anything. Now, you can get decals, and you can stick the decals on, but I obviously don't like to do things the easy way. So I like to do it the hard way. And I have been experimenting a little bit with lettering. Here you can see this one has come out really nicely. It's a metallic black with silver flake and a clear coat. And in fact, I'm just going to run over quickly how I've done this. That one, and this one. So I have been experimenting to see how a logo is going to sit on it and look. And then I got all these spray outs. Some are different. These two are candies. That's just the base that I've got to match. That's the black that we're going to be using on the bike, and the black bits. This is a custom color with a xirallic top coat. It's a pearl with a clear, pearl with xirallic, and these are various colors. These are some metallic. It's a metallic. The flake on this is quite big. Don't really like that. I like this very fine flake. There's some things I do like, some things I don't like. And how I've done this to date is it's very simple. I do my base coat, then I do a clear coat, and then I sand it down with 1200. I put a stencil over, vinyl stencil, and then I hit it with a clear coat with just the silver flake in. I've got a very small sample of the silver flake, and then I do it the whole thing clear coats over that. So I've run into a few issues on this. The first issue is this I wanted it to look very, very subtle, and when you stand back a bit you can see it's very subtle lettering, and you can put a decal on the top. You can put a decal with a clear coat over, though I would do a very high quality vinyl and a very high quality clear coat, because that's where it's going to fail. Or you can spray it in like this. But there's different ways, obviously, to do it. So here what happened is, after doing that, I dropped my airbrush, and that got a bit buggered. And then I tried to clean it, and I shot the nozzle into neverness. It's somewhere here. And a tiny little bit in the front. And so I was in a bit of a pinch, and I had to do these two, that one and that one, with, let me just get the, yeah, you can see it better, with the small, the minigun, touch-up gun. And what's happened is that, for me, it's sort of, it stands a bit proud. Like this one is okay. That one, you know, you might as well have just stuck a decal on and then sprayed over it, because that's the effect we've got. This is dead smooth. The whole thing is very, very smooth. So it's part of the paint. It doesn't look like it's an afterthought. It's on top. And that's what we're going for. Is this one has been done with an airbrush, because I got a new airbrush. And so that's part of the paint. Your airbrush puts out a lot more. It's a lot finer. So you're not getting the microns that you're getting from a gun. And you can get this effect where it's actually part of it. And that's what we want to do on the Suzuki. I don't know exactly what we want to do, but I know that we want to do this. So I haven't done it very evenly on this one. Let's get it in the shade and you can get a better look. I haven't done it tremendously evenly. I'm just going to focus on that writing. As you can see there, as it has come out here or on the other one. So we've learned that. We've also learned that there's different types of vinyls. So you really want to experiment with your vinyl. I've had different colors, because what I asked her, our neighbor does it, the vinyl cutting, so it's right here, is to do it on a vinyl that I'm going to do the base coat in, the same color. So you can sort of get an idea of how far you are with your flake. And that has worked, except for one small issue. Different colors, different types of vinyl, and when you're taking it off it leaves a residue. And then to try and, like, for example, the black vinyl here, man, that came off very cleanly. It is a wet application I'm using. The problem with the airbrush also is that you get surface tension pulling over there, so you're going to get that lip around the edge. You're not getting that with the airbrush. The purple one also came off quite cleanly, but if you look a bit closer on this one, you're going to see that the edge is dulled. It's lost its edge there and there, and there's a bit of a lump there, and that's only because that vinyl, this particular color vinyl, this was the blue one, left a lot of residue, and then it's very hard to clean up, and you don't really have the time, and if you make a mess of it, you made a mess of your whole job, and you got to spray it off or sand it off and start again. So this does require a lot of experimentation, which is why I say fuck around and find out. Don't take my word for it. These colors are really beautiful. They're all really beautiful. I cannot decide. And the camera obviously doesn't do them justice, so you have to see them. So today we are going to work on the technique, because I'm leaning towards this. Now these two are the silver base coat, which is metallic, and then I've got a candy on, a violet candy with a xirallic flake in, and this is the same as that, but it's got a little bit, it's got an extra layer of the clear coat with extra xirallic in to give it that extra effect. And this is the thing, candy is I'm quite fascinated with candy, and this is the first time I've ever sprayed it, and I've noticed that it can go horribly wrong if you're not patient, which I'm not. And but it's a tint in the clear. So what I want to do and try and find out is that because it's not a metallic, so we can't just spray that on top. What I want to find out is if we do this, and then I got a bit of the black metallic base and then spray it onto that, then do our candy coating, and then perhaps just a additional xirallic coat. Will we see it with the violet? Which we should, because it's quite translucent. That's really the word for it. Look, I don't know. I really don't know. And also, do we have to do just a mist coat like that, or do we have to do a solid, or how much do we have to do so that you can clearly see the logo through here? Yet it's still subtle and very much part of the paint, and it's very, very, you know, it's not a decal, it's not a stick or nothing, man. This is part of the paint job. That's what you want. You want this thing to stand out, and they want to look at it and go, you know, wow, this is amazing. I never thought of this. I don't, you know. So, but first we have to experiment. So today we are going to be looking at, this is straightforward. Today we are going to be looking at doing our logo with a candy. And so what I've done over here is I got myself set up. I've got a bit of this candy over there, and I've got a bit of the clear coat. This one, you see, I haven't shaken that one. That's your xirallic in there. This one I shook yesterday, so it hasn't settled out yet. I might rob a bit of clear coat of that and add it to that, and keep a stronger xirallic there to add to for the, I don't know. I don't know yet. And then we got our metallic flake, which I've used there. And here's the thing that you've got to bear in mind: if you're adding stuff to a clear coat, you're going to, your standard auto color or anything 2K clear it's good quality stuff. But if you're adding your candy tints, your metallic flakes, and your xirallic flakes, or anything to a clear coat, you have to go a much higher quality, which is the Deltron clear, because it will cause it to fail. It's not a reaction, it's just the chemical or structural integrity of the clear coat will start to collapse when you start adding things to it. It's not strong enough to take these things added. So either way, you're going to have a good clear over the top, or something, or just use a better quality, as best quality as you can get, a clear coat that can actually handle. Or you can use the binding coat, which is a 1K base coat, a clear binder, and start adding these things in. I don't have a clear binder, so we're going to stick with this. And here's the thing with your candy, is that there's two ways to do it. You do your base coat, whatever color you want, and then you can either add this 1K, another base coat with the tint in, and then put any clear coat you want on, or you're mixing it with a clear coat but using a better quality clear coat, whatever works for you. I'm using what I've got, and this is what I've got. So should the results come out really well, I will probably not be using this as a metallic. I'll be using the same color but in a pearl, and we'll probably just be going with the Deltron clear, and just get a bit more of it, and maybe additional tint. Who knows? I don't know how much tint to add. I don't know how much. I don't know any of this. So this is why we're experimenting. We got these spray outs, and they're ready to go, almost ready to go. So these are from those last spray outs. You can see I put a bit of tape over, and then I put a bit of, write down what I'm doing, and what the color, the clear coat, everything, what I'm doing. So I've got the recipe. I also write it on the back. These are tin, so steel, so they're quite robust. And then the numbers on the side are just the order that we're doing it in. And I like to put it all on a piece of wood. So here, as you can see, if you spray over it, you can wipe off and see what it is you have to do next. You can screw them on, and this actually mounts it quite nicely. You've obviously got overspray on the sides, which causes it to stick to the block a bit, so you just get a little craft knife and take it off. But it also gives it a good anchor to sand and cut and buff and do whatever you want, because it doesn't help just doing a spray out. You really want to see what it's going to look like once it's cut and buffed. I've got another piece of white clear masonite here, which I'm going to be using once I've done the silver. I'm going to do the same there, and then instead of, I don't have masking tape or nothing I don't want to be touching here, I can just touch it there and see what's happening. And that's what we're going to be doing. So first off, we're going to be giving this thing a bit of a clean, and then get our silver clear coat on and see if our stencils are ready to run over the road and pick up, and let's go from there. Alright guys, so we're giving this about an hour and a half flash of time. You got 24 hours, they say, for your base coat. First I'm going to, the same piece that I've done, I've put a piece of this vinyl on in the same fashion, and I want to see if I remove it, are we going to have any problems with residue or anything. And so it looks a little bit like we're good to go with that. We're only going to do 2 of the stencils because the other one's coming on top, so we just need that for now. Now for the tricky bit, because this is really, I don't have the patience for this. So what I want to do here is first orientate myself. I'm going to start with 1, clean hands obviously, and I've also not used the transfer tape before, so I don't know how it's going to come out. Very much, they say you have to weed it first, so I'm assuming that is weeding it. Not very good at it, am I? I got one, and the whole idea of this is not to have the little bits flapping around sticking to each other, because I'm telling you it's a nightmare. You really got to go as slowly and patiently as possible with this step, because vinyl's a nightmare. Right, you see it's all sticking together. Ha, job done on that. And so we've done one. Now let's do the next one, because the transfer tape's just as difficult to, if not more. That one's coming off a bit easier. Now, like I say before, I've tried different vinyls, and for this you really don't want the highest quality vinyl. You in fact want the lowest quality vinyl, because you just don't want it trying as best as possible to stick. You want it as best as possible to come off. Let's get the transfer tape. So I'm guessing the theory is that you should be doing this indoors so the wind doesn't blow it everywhere. That's one part of the theory. The other part of the theory is we've lost one. There it is. Vinyl is more sticky than the transfer tape. So that's just supposed to hold all its bits together. I don't know if it's going to work. I've not used it, but Not really going to get away with it if you've got characters like 0 and O's or anything with something in between. So you need something to support that, keep it in place. Now note I'm getting everything ready as much as possible, because once we get this on, we don't want to leave the vinyl on for too long. I left that piece on and I had some lunch and then came back and it came off alright, so I think we'll be okay. But you don't want, you really don't want residue on here. It's a nightmare to get off and it really destroys the edge trying to clean it. We are going to do this in much the same way that I've done it before. Vinyl, obviously they do a wet application or a dry application. You're going to have to move it around to get it into position. So now it's these little lines that we are worried about. We are genuinely going to need a vinyl squeegee. So we've got one. Now we've got everything. Let's do that. And let's do that. Before you do all this, you really do want your stuff all together. You want your orientation correct, because there's a place for a hole. Now what we do is we use sunlight. It's quite important to use sunlight, because other brands contain other chemicals that affect your clear coats going on forward. So your sunlight's going to go on, and you can spray over it. You give it a healthy dose of that. I hope you can see. You can see. And there you see the transfer tape's purpose is to keep the little S's aligned in the little lines. I don't really want to go over the edges of this spray out plate, which is why these are designed to be a little bit bigger. Like that, we're going to give it a squeegee. And our airbrush is ready to go. I've run some things through. I don't know how this is going to pan out. We're about to find out. I don't know how sticky. You see, this is really, transfer tape's quite bloody sticky, really. Don't know if it's going to do more harm than good. Like, I got a lot of sunlight on there. I got a lot of sunlight. Like I said, it's these little lines that want to move, and that's where you're going to have your failure on this particular vinyl. So I'm going to do it in a way that is going to work for me, and that seems to be good job done. Look at that. Spin the stuff. I'm just going to give it a dab of toilet paper to just get any bit around the edges out. Now, because we're doing a 50% coat on one and then a full coat on the other, you can see why now how the, I can get out the way, seeing as that one was successful. We've got a very mixed coat, a very thinned out coat of our, see, the sunlight allows you to actually slide it around a little. You know, if you've ever tried to stick vinyl on a vehicle and you get that one little bit skew, or you're doomed. You are absolutely doomed unless you have a little bit basically a wet application, what they're saying. It allows you to just pull it a bit here and there. I've gone a bit over. It's very hard to see. I put too much transfer tape on. The sunlight has taken effect. Right, so what we're going to do is go for it like that, and then I'm going to use masking tape on there. Which way are we going? You've got to pull against that little line. I'm trying my best to hold it down, the edges, so I don't have any issues. And roll it off there without affecting it. So far that plan's working. Superb. I'm very relieved that went pretty seamlessly. Set the course for that, but I'm just going to chuck a bit of masking tape on there. Nothing wrong with that. Line them up. I'm going to end with how you can see I've got a bit of the edge here. It's going to be very difficult to get this on a bike. So let's load up the spray gun and go for it. So I'm actually running at about 30 psi. And as you can see, maybe if I increase my material flow, I can get it relatively even. So one is going to be a mist coat, the other one will say a 50% coat, the other one's going to be 100% coat. So give it a blow and scratch it there. Right, so as you can see here, we've got it. One you can see, one you can't. But when I look at it in the sun over here, I'm looking at these edges of the vinyl, and I can clearly see the edge sort of elevated, which means that the airbrush has really done a good, neat job of getting a flat metallic black on here, and that's what we want. We don't want that surface tension. We don't want a fat float coat, which you can't get with a touch. You're going to get with a touch-up gun. Airbrush seems to be the only one. You don't want the paint creating that ridge over there on your outlines, because then you can feel it, and we don't want that, because I've not vinyled over base coat in my life. This is the first time I'm doing this, and I want to see what's going to happen if I can lift this vinyl successfully without any residue. What happened the last time on that logo I showed you, that residue, I couldn't even get it all off, and I had to hit it with benzene, and that dulled the edges, and it just wasn't nice, you know. It wasn't a good, crisp, clear. So I'm actually pulling it this way. I don't know if it's a correct way or if it's an incorrect way, but it's a way that seems to be working for me. And I'm not getting any base coat lifting. I'm not seeing any terrible edges. I should have given my hands a good clean, because now I'm just contaminating it. But such is life. Zero residue. Hey, that's beautiful. Now, I actually can't tell if that was a 50 or a 100. So the 50 was a... You see how easily when you got it off, you can see you've gone too heavy on it. It's very easy to get this to go too heavy. Face off, fuck around and find out. So I'm going to keep this here, because next we are going to move on to Adultron candy. So this is the tinted, so it's the candy, but it also has xirallic in. It's also been standing, so we're going to, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, so I could basically fill that up and I'd be on. It's got its own hardener. It has Galaxy Blue, Solaris Red, and Crystal Silver xirallic in it. Right guys, so see if you can look there. What I have found is there you can clearly see it likes to go to edges, and this is very, very unforgiving. So we got a couple of drawbacks with what we're working with here. One of those drawbacks is that any imperfections, as you can see, there was a fisheye, there's a little mark at the bottom here. Any imperfections, this your tint gets drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Is that it's a 2K mix. This is a 2K mix, so it's got a can life of an hour and a half, and you don't really want to be pushing that. And if you do push it, you're going to have what happened on the bonnet is that it's going to have a reaction on the lower coats, and it's going to ripple up, and it's going to be a big mess. You've got to take it all off and start again. So my conclusion so far is that we have two issues. The first issue is there's probably not enough, but we need that tint in the clear and of the candy tint, so maybe a bit of a stronger mixture, so you use less coats, and it's probably better to use a binding coat, a 1K binding coat, and tint that, so you can do as many passes as you want within a 24-hour period, because we have to do a number of passes here and leave it for like 15 minutes between each time to flash off, and that limits me to the amount of passes I can do with that can life before I hit a reaction on the bottom. So far the logo I'm happy with, and the outcome, the color, everything. I just think we need to perhaps in the future look at those two. I think putting now that we've got the black vinyl sorted, I've got a feeling that this is going to be way better than putting it on the base coat. It's going to be way better than putting it on top of the clear coat and re-clearing. It's just going to give you a smoother finish, and it's going to be deeper in. It's a metallic black where it comes to the actual tone of the black. We are at 50%, we get 100%, and honestly, I can't tell the difference. If I took these numbers off, I wouldn't know. So let's hit it with another couple of passes and see how we fare. Let's see if we can do this. And just to give you an idea of what's happening there, it looks purple to my eyes. It's a blue. I can turn it. It's going to be purple. It's got a number of colors. It's leaning more towards the blue, and it depends entirely on the way the sunlight hits it. This camera can't even focus. That's very, very deep. I wouldn't mind having a look at what this would look like with a clear coat over. and I wouldn't mind having a look at what this would look like with a plain clear coat and a xirallic clear coat. So guys, I hope this video has shed some light. Let's talk about shed some light. Look at that, it's all very, very much changing, and I think we've nailed it. You can see how it has wet down the bottom coat, and it is starting to move towards the edges. So I do think we're happy with the vinyl, we're happy with the cutouts, we're happy with the xirallic. I will change the base to a pearl, even though this is a metallic, but it's a very fine metallic, and I will consider doing this in an intermediate base, or intermediate in a base coat, or a clear base coat, or a binder coat, or whatever they call it. And I'm just going to spray the rest out onto here so I can touch it, and let's see. So guys, there you have it, some lettering on kandy with a touch of xirallic, and it's smooth as glass. Obviously, with the amount I've been putting on, it's flat. Try to do that vertically, and dead happy with that. So we're going to add it when it's dry to this, and we're going to see what works for us. You can see we're leaning towards the blues, but I mean, the world is your oyster. You just got to use your imagination, get a bit creative. Guys, thank you very much for watching.